Okay, this is going to be your only speech in English. Just want to say that it's my honor and pleasure to be with you on this special evening because I have the opportunity to honor Be an Angel, a tiny nonprofit which has had a mighty impact on thousands of lives. People who've been forced by uninvited wars to evacuate and flee their homes, their schools, their places of worship, their shops, playgrounds, neighborhoods, and often their countries. Evacuation is an incredibly stressful experience. My husband and I recently had to evacuate our home in Los Angeles due to the proximity of the fires. We were not able to return for several days, though ultimately our home was safe. But when you must leave, you recognize as you walk out the door that you are saying goodbye to everything that is most meaningful to you. Given that small experience, I can only imagine what it must be like to have to flee missiles and tanks, to flee your homeland, to save your life. I want to start this evening by thanking the whole team of Be an Angel, and in particular, Andreas Tolke, Ulrike Lessing, and Thomas Humphrey, 3 individuals without whom Be an Angel could not open its doors every day. So let's say a great thank you to them. We're going to say a lot of thank yous to them. Tonight, I also want to pay tribute, special tribute, to the ordinary person who bears witness to the fear, confusion, panic, anger, sadness, and yes, the determination and hope of those running for their lives with a cart, a knapsack, a teddy bear, or maybe just the clothes they happened to put on that morning. And they arrive somewhere, anywhere, in search of safety and help. As Friedrich Nietzsche once said, he who has a why to live can bear almost any how. And that ordinary person who does not stand by, cannot stand by and simply watch, but instead needs to act, that, my friends, was Andreas Tolke when I met him 10 years ago. A journalist who covered the style world. Andreas and I officially met during an interview shortly before Germany opened its doors to Syrian refugees taking flight from Assad's brutal war on his own people. And when Andreas bore witness to the mass confusion of refugees in the courtyard of Legeso in 2015, he had to act like so many others. But where others helped and moved on, Andreas stayed. And so Andreas initially invited refugees to sleep on his sofa and floor. Then he helped them with their papers to make sure they were in the asylum system and that the system was working or not, to find lawyers, to get them into integration courses, and to assist them in getting apartments and shelters and all the other pieces of life that you need to make a new life. He recruited friends to witness what he already knew. I was one of them. Then he got us to help too. And within months, in order to strengthen their standing with the government, offices, aid organizations, and the community, Andreas formalized a core group of volunteers into a tiny nonprofit, and that was the birth of Be an Angel. Since those early months, and along with his extraordinary team of ordinary people who cannot stand by, Be an Angel has grown into a supremely effective relief organization, though still small and always in need of funding for its important work. When the influx of displaced Syrians and others slowed, though it never stopped completely, Russia's war of aggression on Ukraine began. The Be an Angel team could not stand by. They acted, thereby opening yet another necessary chapter in the organization's life, one that moved it directly into areas of great risk inside Ukraine and along its borders, into evacuations, ambulances, and airlifts, generators for energy, and aid packages for those in war zones. But it wasn't just about getting victims out. Be an Angel continued its great work of getting people in, moving them to safe places in Germany, Austria, and Italy, which, by the way, they successfully negotiated ahead of time. Thoughtful, nuanced work. And once there, once again assisted with all the papers and bureaucracies that hamper those who do not speak a language or know its culture. Andreas has nurtured and grown a fantastic NGO. Because of its small size and its intent to move quickly, it is creative and flexible, and it serves many of the most vulnerable communities: single mothers, people with disabilities, chronically ill people, children, and the elderly. It opened Kreuzberger Himmel, a renowned restaurant and catering service run exclusively by people with refugee experience. It started a mentoring program for single mothers and partnered with a company to bring an online tool for children experiencing trauma. And it's been honored by governments and institutions alike. Many of you here are very familiar with Be an Angel, and what you do not know about it already, others will continue to illuminate tonight. So let me turn to someone I already mentioned, that ordinary person who cannot stand by. What motivates people like Andreas and his team to step up and step in? For all of us in the field of humanitarian and human rights work, and those who support it, we share an intrinsic belief in the value of human life and our shared responsibility to protect it. We feel a moral obligation to act when we see others in need. For some of us, this is rooted in our cultural or religious values, while for others, we may be motivated by a personal sense of ethics or a desire to defend human rights. We may want to confront the injustices that force people to flee their homes. Our actions are part of a larger fight against war, oppression, and apathy to suffering. We never want to regret that we did not do something or do our best to help those in need. We know that even small acts of kindness and assistance can have a profound impact on somebody's life. And our collective actions can inspire more people to join in, creating a ripple effect throughout our communities. And perhaps more personally, we discover in ourselves a sense of purpose and fulfillment to make a difference in the lives of others during a period of tremendous chaos and suffering. Courage, empathy, and a sense of responsibility may motivate people like Andreas, Ulrike, and their team. But what does the work of Be an Angel mean for our society and its citizens as a whole? It reminds us of our shared humanity. In a climate of fear and division, the actions of these ordinary people stress to us that migration is fundamentally about human lives. Refugees are not numbers or political talking points. They are families seeking safety, children fleeing war, and individuals striving for dignity. Those who intervene bridge the gap between us and them. This work also acts as a kind of buffer to the narrative of polarization. Rising anti-immigration rhetoric often dehumanizes refugees, portraying them as a single bulk of others. Be an Angel, through its service, creates narratives of hope and solidarity that challenge the fear-based narratives dominating public discourse. Be an Angel's grassroots actions are also a positive counter to political inertia. Governments may adopt restrictive immigration policies or fail to act in the face of crises, but grassroots efforts show how individuals and communities can lead where institutions stumble. These acts demonstrate that while political systems may be paralyzed by fear or populism, the moral courage of individuals can still create meaningful change. In addition, organizations like Be an Angel challenge the narrative of scarcity. Opposition to migration often arises from fears of economic strain or cultural loss. The actions of those aiding refugees pushes back against this narrative by demonstrating there are sufficient resources, generosity, and a willingness to share. And as the restaurant Kreuzberger Himmel demonstrates, given the opportunity, people with refugee experience can make a valuable contribution to our local economies. These stories make clear that welcoming others does not diminish us, but enriches our communities and strengthens our bonds. Moreover, the willingness to assist refugees in the face of widespread opposition underscores a moral clarity that rises above politics. It reminds us that doing what's right often requires standing up, even when it's uncomfortable or unpopular. And the work of Be an Angel and nonprofits like them provides a counter to despair. They show that even in a world increasingly resistant to migration, individual and collective actions can create change. They inspire others to act, and nurturing a culture of empathy that may one day influence broader policy shifts. Finally, how societies respond to migration crises is a reflection of their core values. The bravery of those helping refugees forces us to ask critical questions. Do we prioritize walls or bridges? Do we act out of fear or compassion? These moments test the principles we claim to uphold, like democracy, freedom, and human rights. Desmond Tutu famously said, "If you are neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor." In the face of growing opposition, these acts of kindness serve as a powerful reminder that even when policies fail, humanity endures. They challenge us to see refugees not as a problem to be managed, but as a people deserving of dignity, safety, and the chance to rebuild their lives. So thank you for all you do supporting Be an Angel. Please continue that support. And thank you to Be an Angel for all you do. Thank you. Can everybody say, thank you, Be an Angel. Go, thank you, Be an Angel.